the penultimate week in the Premier League, and there are still things to be decided. Can Forest get back into the top 5? Welcome to week 37. Afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to the Footy Network. Coming up today, we're going to talk you through the fixtures because there are still things that need to be decided. Yes, the league has been won by Liverpool and the relegated teams are down. But who's going to get the Champions League spots and who's going to potentially get a Europa Conference League if, of course, Crystal Palace beat Man City in the FA Cup semi-final. So if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well if you're new to the Footy Network. And let's jump into the first game. Villa Park in the West Midlands will see the first game as Aston Villa take on Spurs. And surely this is the most cut and dry result you've ever seen. With all eyes for Spurs on the final in the Europa League, and Villa getting a huge win against Bournemouth. Arguably, in my opinion, the hardest of the three they had left. That one's done, and now they're going to face Ange Postecoglou and surely a weakened team. Or do you guys think he goes full strength? Let me know in the comments. Even if he goes full strength, I don't think they got enough for Villa. Villa are doing very well right now. 6th in the league, 2 wins on the bounce. 2 more wins gives them a hell of a shout to get those top 5 positions. I'm going to back them. I'm going to go Aston Villa 3, Tottenham 1. And I think Villa will somehow, some way find themselves in the top 5 come the end of the season. But who's your top 5? Let me know in the comments. Stamford Bridge is where game number 2 is at, as Chelsea will take on Manchester United. And everything I just said about Spurs, you can literally copy and paste and say it for Manchester United, because all eyes are on the final for them as well. How have 16th and 17th got to a Europa League final is beyond belief, and maybe tells you a lot about that competition, or maybe not. Don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Chelsea, on the other hand, just took an L to Newcastle, with Jackson being sent off. You could argue with 10 men they actually looked better than when he was on the pitch. But he is done and dusted for the rest of the season, so they're going to have to find a striker replacement. Oh, and they don't really have one. Apart from the kid George, maybe they put Pedro up front or something like that. United, on the other hand, are absolutely embarrassing to this Premier League this season. 16th in the league, yet to crack the 40-point mark, and making the excuses about the Europa League. I don't like them, and I don't like Spurs, but I think I'll be backing Spurs that night. I can't see them getting anything out of this. I'm going to go Chelsea 2, Manchester United 0. But you know what? I could do with a favour from United. No chance. Goodison Park will see game number 3 as Everton take on Southampton. And in fact, this will be the last ever home match for the Evertonians at Goodison Park before they move to their new home next season. Everton fans, how are you feeling about it? I've heard some ticket prices from some mates that are going, and those tickets are, wow, would you sell? Thousands and thousands being offered. Everton must put out a performance on this one. They have no choice. This is the most important game of the season for them, and they need to leave Goodison Park with 3 points and smiles on those Evertonians' faces. Southampton, on the other hand, massive round of applause. You did it. You got past Derby's record and you left that intact. I love you guys. Thank you so much for that after they drew 0-0 with Manchester City. So big up to all you Saints fans. And I think your season is done now that you've done that. You don't care what happens. Yes, you're going to the Championship, but your heads are held high. I'm going to go Everton 1, Southampton 0. Saints fans won't mind if Everton get this win, but I think the Evertonian players know they have to win this one. The London Stadium will see West Ham United taking on Forest. And a week ago, this game felt huge to me. Nerves would have kicked in and everything, but Forest drew with Leicester. Forest could have been 5th going into this game had they held on, but now they currently sit 7th in the league. It's not over, but it feels like it's over. But Forest have qualified for Europe next season, and West Ham did get a win at Old Trafford last week, which took them off 17th in the table and put them up to the dizzy heights of 15. But they have been woeful this season, pretty much game in, game out. All they proved last week was they're less woeful than Manchester United. But I'll tell you what, my team hasn't been much better in the last few weeks. Even I can admit to that. And I could probably see a defeat here for Forest. So I'm going to go West Ham 2, Forest 0. I hope I'm wrong. I've been predicting Forest wins week in, week out. Changing up the tact. Let's see if it works. What are your guys' prediction on this one? And can Forest still get the top 5? Let me know. The BTEC Stadium in West London will see Brentford taking on Fulham in a West London derby. Is it really a derby between those two teams? I don't know. Fulham fans, Brentford fans, if you exist, let me know. But Brentford, as much as I hate to say it, are in cracking form right now. 4 wins in a row, undefeated in their last 5, and they find themselves in 8th spot with 55 points. They can't get any higher, but they need to stave off the likes of who they got behind them: Brighton, Bournemouth, and Fulham. And speaking of Fulham, if they want any chance at potentially qualifying for Europa Conference spot, they have to win this one. They are 4 points behind Brentford. This is a 6-pointer. But the funny thing is, it could all mean nothing if Crystal Palace go and win the FA Cup this weekend, because that position will be taken out of the league. So, who's going to win this one? I think it's a draw. I'm going to go Brentford 1, Fulham 1. Like a lot of these teams that are in the fight for 8th place. But as long as Bournemouth don't finish there, I can make my peace with it being Brentford. But who gets this final spot? Let me know in the comments. The King Power Stadium will see Leicester City taking on Ipswich. And the King Power Stadium will see Leicester City taking on Ipswich next year as well, but in a different division. Leicester City fans are celebrating because they think they've cost Forest Champions League. I say thank you for the point because you guaranteed us Europe, so hold that. Ipswich, on the other hand, I mean, who cares what's going on the pitch, because Liam Delap has become bigger than the club, because that's all anyone's talking about. Is he going Man U? Is he going Chelsea? He's even been linked to Forest now. This is an absolute dead rubber game. The King Power has been empty for the last 4 or 5 months because Leicester fans have basically accepted their fate. Will they fill it out for the final time in the Premier League before it becomes a championship stadium again? And will they win? I think it will be Leicester 0, Ipswich 1. I think Ipswich are the better team, and I think Ipswich will go out with a bit more of a bang than Leicester do. And maybe Delap will score another goal. Who knows? But what do you guys think? The Emirates this weekend sees Arsenal taking on Newcastle, and this could be a decider for who finishes second in the league. Because if the Geordies win, they will leapfrog Arsenal and stop Arsenal from doing the three-peat. Not winning the title, the three-peat in second position. Arsenal fans, do you want that three-peat? Is that your standards these days? Let me know in the comments down below. Newcastle, with a very good victory, 2-0 over Chelsea, has all but confirmed their Champions League positions for next season. But I think the Geordies want more. They've taken a trophy for the first time in 70 years, and finishing second would be an outstanding season and a great job done by Eddie Howe. Arsenal, on the other hand, came from 2-0 behind against Liverpool after giving them the guard of honour to come away from Anfield with a point. But that point means nothing, apart from they're pretty much certain on Champions League next season. So I'm going to go for honours even here as well. I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Newcastle 2. But I would like to see the Geordies finish ahead of Arsenal. That would be quite funny. Amex Stadium, we'll see Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Liverpool. And Brighton are still fighting for maybe a Conference League position. They did just beat Wolves 2-0 away at Molineux, which was a cracking result. And Liverpool are most definitely on the beach these last few games. Why did you beach up against Chelsea, Liverpool? Liverpool as well. They say, you'll never walk alone, one of our own and all this stuff. But there was a section of their fan base booing Trent Alexander-Arnold as he is making his way to a bigger club in Real Madrid. I think Liverpool are on the beach, but I just feel like they might get something out of this game. So I'm going to go Brighton 1, Liverpool 3. But it all depends on what team Slot puts out on the pitch and can they even be asked? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Selhurst Park will see Crystal Palace taking on Wolves. But Crystal Palace are more interested in what happens in their fixture at Wembley as they're taking on Manchester City in the FA Cup final. And let me just give you my stance on this. I want Crystal Palace to win, but I need Man City to win. If you understand that, then you understand. Anyway, so back to this game. This really depends on what Palace have done. If they've lifted the silverware, if we've seen armpits from their players, then they're going to be literally party mode, aren't they, at Selhurst Park? Can you imagine what the atmosphere will be like at that stadium? If they haven't, they'll be down in the dumps. I'm sure very proud of what their team have done at the weekend at Wembley. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to say Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. All the talk with Wolves at the moment is about Cunha and his departure potentially to Manchester United. Their form has dropped off a little bit in the league. I think they've taken 2 L's in a row after being the most informed team in Europe. 0-0 sounds about right to me. But what do you guys think? The Etihad Stadium will see Manchester City taking on Bournemouth in the Premier League. And again, it's the same kind of narrative to before. What's happened on Saturday? I don't know. Or maybe you're watching this after Saturday and you already know. I think Manchester City do probably win the FA Cup. They get a little bit too drunk and they may mess this one up. They're nearly over the line for the top 5, but not quite there. And I think they'll try and claim that by winning the FA Cup, it has saved their season from being an utter disaster into an okay one. Bournemouth, on the other hand, have to win if they want any claim on that 8th position and potentially, depending on what happened in the FA Cup match, meaning that they could get a European spot. But it's all to do for them on this one. I think Bournemouth will want Manchester City to win the FA Cup, so they're drunken celebrations. And maybe they want revenge because it was Man City who knocked them out of the FA Cup in the first place. I'm going to go Manchester City 1, Bournemouth 2. I don't know. Maybe not. Is there a little bit of me thinking, do that? Maybe Forest can still go. I don't know. That's what I'm going with, but I'm not confident on that one. It's all based on what happens on Saturday. But what do you guys think? Who wins the FA Cup? Let me know in the comments. And that's all your fixtures starting from Friday going on into next week in game week 37. And it leaves us with one more week in the Premier League. Where has that gone and how has time flown so quickly? If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And we'll see you back here for game week 38. Good luck to your teams this weekend. And Palace, good luck to you in the FA Cup. Have a great weekend.